Hello, thanks for joining me on Life in Surround. Today we're talking about a brand new surround album. It's not a reissue, it's not out of print. It is a new album that has received a simultaneous 5.1 release. It is Kansas. The Absence of Presence. Alright, so the new Kansas album. This album has received some criticism from hardcore Kansas fans because there's only 2 original members in the band at this time. And so some people are calling this like a Kansas tribute band. And all I'll say is that I don't have a huge amount of nostalgia for classic Kansas. I like their 70s hits as well as anybody, but I'm not really stuck on who's in the band. And to my ear, Kansas have done a great job of hiring who they've hired. These players and writers all perform their roles really well. They take a what would Kansas do approach to their writing, and they also write to the strengths of the current members. So you're going to get excellent violin, keys, guitar, vocal performances, very competent bass and drums. Nothing blew my mind in that regard. But this is a solid rock album, and I like what somebody said on Quadraphonic Quad. If you're having a hard time accepting this as Kansas, just pretend that it's not. Let's pretend that it's a new rock band that you're checking out, and let's call them Oklahoma, and right next door to Kansas, and maybe that'll help just give this a chance for what it is. I'm not going to go track by track. A guy named Puddleglum has already done that. I'll link his review below. I think he did a really good job. Hey Puddleglum, I like Narnia too. Probably my favorite book is Last Battle. That's a pretty awesome book. And if I were a character from Narnia, I would probably be Bacchus. And I have a dog named Nickabrick, for what it's worth. So anyway, he has like 30 something subscribers, so he did a really good job on the Kansas review. So if you guys want to go lend him some support, that would be super awesome. Favorite songs for me right off the bat are the title track, Memories Down the Line, and the final track, the song The River Sang. Memories Down the Line is probably like the best ballad that I've heard in ages. I usually don't really like ballads very much, and every time this song comes on I just find myself saying to myself that, I really love this song. It is not as predictable as many ballads are. It has a really interesting melodic structure, and the beat comes in and just does everything that it should, and yeah, it really does it for me. This album features moments of guitar shredding, violin shredding, keys noodling. Like, it is a hard rock, progressive album. The closest that you're going to get to Carry On Wayward Son territory is going to be the opening track. It has different movements, has different feels. It has some riffola that solos are played over, and it drew me into this album very nicely. Throwing Mountains is a super hard rock song with an infectious riff. And in 5.1, its intro is actually one of the standout moments. You get this flangey guitar effect that emanates from behind your ears and then swells up to the front of the room. It's really cool. And then the band hits. Another standout surround moment is the end of the album. The final song closes with this really doomy tag, and they take the opportunity to really float a lot of accents, overdub type of things, people bantering, guitar parts, make very active use of the entire room. final track also features a tom-tom figure that kind of floats throughout the room in a very active way. And Propulsion 1 is also an extremely active song. Now here's the bad news. There are moments where keyboards work their way to the rears. There are moments where guitar parts do. You get vocal emanations in the rears. Rhythm guitars really reside in the surrounds most of the album. But the rest of the music is very, very, very front-centric. Drums, bass, lead vocal, most solo parts, keys, violin, guitar, are going to be squarely locked up front. So this is what I would call a tame mix. Now it sounded tamer to me on my HTS, and when I came into this room and sat down in the middle of my dedicated listening system with full range channels all around, I was able to detect more of the surround mixing choices. So there is quite a bit of content there. I would say that the majority of it is pretty subtle, and there are highlight moments and then a couple of tracks that really go out of their way to be good surround experiences. In terms of sound, the CD is smashed to death, as are the streaming versions of the album. The 5.1 fares quite a bit better. 5.1 sounds really good to my ears. I wouldn't say that it's sonically perfect like Donald Fagen's Nightfly or anything like that, but I don't need for heavy rock music to sound perfect. It sounds good for what it's trying to do. I would say a criticism is that this Blu-ray is very, very light on content. You get the stereo lossless, and you get two different surround options, both lossless, DTS HD Master and LPCM. And other than that, you get nothing. There are some great making of videos on the Kansas YouTube channel. They could have put those on the Blu-ray, and maybe some promo videos, and some on-screen lyrics. There are some really interesting lyrics for this album, and putting on-screen lyrics for a Blu-ray can help you get deeper in touch with the content. So final analysis. For the mix, I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. It does some good things, it doesn't butcher the album, it is more interesting than stereo, but they really, really, really could have gotten way more adventurous with it. So I recommend you listen to some Steven Wilson, listen to some Bob Clearmountain, listen to some Elliot Shiner, and be willing to push the boundaries a little bit more. Blu-rays are huge. Why don't bands put out a really tame mix for people who really just want an enhanced stereo experience, and then put out a balls to the wall, no punches pulled, just everything including the kitchen sink mix. There's plenty of room for that. Sonically, I would say this is maybe an 8 out of 10, and for me that's good enough for rock music. For the music, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. I am really impressed. I am not often impressed with bands' later era output. I'm a diehard Rush fan, and even in that case, I'm not super thrilled with most of their later output. Styx did a great job on The Mission recently. Wasn't super thrilled with the latest Alan Parsons, and so forth. But I think these guys really nail this content. They write to their strengths, they take a what would Kansas do approach, and they write interesting lyrics, and I am going to keep returning to this album. I actually really dig it. And then for the package, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. And that's mostly because the Blu-ray could have used more features. The price is right for this. As of this recording, you can get this album for under 20 bucks. You're supporting a current artist who has just put out a current 5.1 album on Blu-ray, lossless. So, you know, I do recommend this album. I think if you total all of my numbers, we're going to come up with a rating of about 7.5. That is squarely in my recommended range. I don't think this is going to be anybody's holy grail of surround, but hey, in this time of lockdown, if you would like some new content to listen to, Maybe you won't like the album as much as I do. Go ahead and audition some of the songs on the band's YouTube. But if the music appeals to you, and you can handle the mix being less adventurous than it should have been, then go ahead and give this a whirl. I just want to thank you for watching, and if you like what I do and you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, ring the notification bell, like the video, share the video, leave your comments below. Do you like this album? What do you think about the mix? What do you think about the sound? How would you like to have some classic Kansas mixed in surround? I know I would. Alright, so that's all for now. The only thing left to say is live life in surround.